What you're about to hear are the sounds of the new Panasonic LUMIX DMW-DMS1 on-camera microphone being recorded in 32-bit float on the LUMIX S1 Mark IIe. We recently had a tropical storm hit, and the recording quality using this on the widest stereo option is pretty great. Let's have a quick listen. Welcome back, folks. My name's Shane. In today's video, we're checking out the new LUMIX DMW-DMS1 on-camera shotgun microphone. I put shotgun microphone in quotation marks because this is what a shotgun microphone looks like, and this is what the DMS1 looks like. Now, in all fairness, while this isn't a traditional shotgun microphone, it does share a couple of polar patterns that mic nerds will be familiar with. I think LUMIX could have called this an array microphone or on-camera pro mic or something like that, given that we get four 10mm electric condenser capsules inside this main grill here. Now, the price of the DMS1 comes in at 649 Australian dollars, which isn't cheap, and I'll talk more about the value of this unit a little later in the video. Including the box, we get the DMS1, a wind filter, and a cool little carry bag. Due to the non-conventional design and interesting naming convention, I didn't have high hopes with this unit, but it actually performed really well and will suit a very niche audience. The target audience for this is anyone wanting high-quality ambient room recordings for live shows or music concerts, for example, or anyone wanting to record dynamic atmospheric audio for short films. Before we get into it, a quick thank you to Panasonic for the loan of the DMS1. I don't get to keep it, and it goes back to Panasonic after I finish this video. They also lent me the S1 Mark IIe because this new mic, as of right now, is only compatible with the new S1 series of cameras, which I don't own any of. The good news is that the DMS1 will work with the S5 Mark II and X after a firmware update once the unit is available, and then the GH7 and G9 Mark II after that. Now, for the cameras that don't support 32-bit recording, you'll still be able to use this just without the float option. While it should go without saying, if you're an S9 shooter, this won't be compatible whatsoever, as there's no hot shoe on that camera. Now, if you're shooting with an older camera like the original S5 or the LUMIX GH5 Mark II or GH6, it doesn't look like the support will be available for those cameras, which is a bit of a bummer. I'll give you a quick rundown of how to operate the unit and some of its features. First up, I love the fact that this connects directly to the hot shoe on top of the camera without any cables or batteries being required, so that's awesome. Coming in at only 100 grams or 3.5 ounces, whatever that means. Imperial system. This is lightweight enough to not really notice too much of a weight difference once you attach it, which is really nice. Now, the mic array is floating on a rubberized shock mount internally, so this helps mitigate any sort of handling noise, which it does really well. I also really love the fact we get this new locking wheel, which you just turn clockwise to lock it down onto the hot shoe. This is a huge upgrade over, say, the XLR1 and XLR2 adapters, which, at least with the XLR2, if I was using it handheld, it would occasionally glitch the audio. With this, it just locks in beautifully. I'd love to see future XLR adapters have this exact same system. It's fast and easy, and once you lock it in, you're good to go. The control layout is nice and simple. Working from left to right, we have a wind cut option, which when combined with 32-bit float will give you better isolation on your main audio source. The good news is that the windsock works so well that I doubt you'll even need to use that switch. So just leave this on if you plan on shooting outside. It does a really great job. If you're in extreme situations, that could obviously vary, but in just standard windy environments, I found this to be all you really need to get great audio. Now, the noise cut switch allows you to cut excessive background noise from your audio. And we also get a plus 20 and minus 20 dB option if you need to adjust the gain heavily. My suggestion is just to leave the gain switch in the center or zero position and just use the gain wheel control over here. This will be all you need for most situations. On the right, we've got a limiter option. You can either leave it set to on, auto, or off. One thing that's worth mentioning too, if you're shooting in 32-bit float mode, it interacts with the camera differently to standard mode, where some of these controls won't directly impact or affect the levels that are actually being recorded, which is essentially clipless. On the back panel here, we get our 6 polar patterns, and these light up blue to let you know exactly which one you're on. You can also dim how bright these lights are on the back through the camera's menu system if you need to. If you shut down the camera and turn it back on, it remembers your last setting, which I can really appreciate. Let me show you a practical example of how these polar patterns work and what they do. The first of these polar patterns is called Cardioid, which is designed to give you a nice mono recording from the front while rejecting sound from the back and the sides of the microphone. This will let in more sort of spill or ambient sound than what you might find with the Super Cardioid option, but this is a good starting point if you're going to be addressing the camera like this. I'll just hold this up in a vlogging fashion to show you how it sounds at a distance. There's no lens on this, by the way, so you're looking at this camera. And as I turn this around, you're going to hear that my voice drops off drastically. This is the Cardioid polar pattern. And now you're listening to the first of the 2 stereo options. Now, if this sounds balanced like a mono recording, it's because it's right in front of me. But as I turn the camera around now, you're going to hear more of the left channel. And as I turn it around now, you're going to hear more of the right channel. So this is good for live bands or any situation where there might be an event going on. Option 3 gives you a super wide stereo field of view, and this is great for those atmospheric recordings of thunderstorms and all that kind of stuff, or anything outside where you want to capture how a particular place feels. As I move this around now, you're going to hear it drastically pan a lot further left and right in this scenario. And this should also give you a good indication of the handling noise of the unit as well, as I'm moving it around like this. And now you're listening to the Super Cardioid front-facing polar pattern, which means now when I turn the camera even a hair, it's going to drop my voice off a lot more than before. If I turn it around to 90 degrees almost, you're going to hear that my voice is almost gone. So this is great if you want to help eliminate sound from the back and sides. And now I've spun the camera around to show you the 4th option, which is rear Super Cardioid. So this is the same polar pattern as before, but it's designed to be used behind the camera like this. So now, as I start to turn this around to 90 degrees, my voice is drastically going to drop off. And you can hear how little of my voice is picked up now from in front of this, being that the polar pattern is working from the back of the microphone. So yeah, another cool option. This last polar pattern option gives you Super Cardioid polar patterns from the front and back. So this allows you to get great quality audio from behind and then also from the front. This would be really handy if someone's presenting, but you've got someone working behind the camera who wants to be involved, and you've got that track of audio also. This might be great for product shows if you hire a camera person or whatever to work behind the camera. Now, as I turn this to 90 degrees, it's going to reject the sound of my voice quite a lot. So yeah, this is designed specifically now for audio from the back and audio from the front. Another cool feature is the fact we get a sense of redundancy here. So we get a safety track option. The cameras can record up to 4 channels of audio. So say, for example, we're using a stereo left and right recording. We can then have a second left and right recording at minus 20 dB. So if you're in a situation with unpredictable volumes, for example, you've always got those safety tracks available. Again, this is not as important for 32-bit float, but if you're recording in one of the other modes on the camera, this can come in really handy. Monitoring can be done via the headphone output as per normal because there's no headphone socket on the unit itself. And you also get the option to select which channels you want to monitor in the camera's menu system. So if you only want the first left and right channel, you can pick those. Now, one thing to note, if you change your polar patterns while recording, you'll hear the audio drop out for about 1/10 of a second or so. I didn't actually measure it, but it's very short. Now, I've tested a lot of podcasting microphones on the channel that offers similar polar patterns to this, and this is quite normal. So my suggestion is to select which polar pattern you want before you hit record, because if it's important and you need to change the polar pattern, you're going to hear a slight glitch on the audio. I wouldn't use this as a voice microphone unless I was in really close proximity to it, and it sounds quite good in that scenario. So let's have a listen. All right, let's have a listen to how this sounds in close proximity to me and my voice. So this is the audio quality you can expect up close, which I think sounds really nice. And being that it's 32-bit float, you have a lot of post-production flexibility to bring this up to a level that you like without increasing the noise floor. So I'll make this sound as nice as I can right now for you so you can get a sense of what this is capable of. And I think it's doing a really nice job here in the room, but let me know what you think. And this is the audio quality of the built-in microphones on the LUMIX S1 Mark IIe as a point of comparison from this little guy right here. We get a maximum sound pressure level of 120 dB, which is loud. Now, I'm a musician first and foremost. I play a lot of guitar, I play a lot of live music, and this would have no problems being plonked in front of a band and getting a really great mix without clipping the actual diaphragms. 120 dB is as loud as you'll probably need unless you're recording jet engines. So yeah, it won't have a problem handling very loud situations. I wanted to touch on price and value because, as I mentioned at the start, this is a bit of a niche product and it's quite pricey at 649 Australian dollars. And there's plenty of pro field recorders you can pick up for a fraction of the price of this, including the Zoom H1. It's kind of legendary in the audio space. And it comes in at like 149 Australian dollars, and it comes with two XY position stereo mics, 32-bit float support, and additional lav mic support, which this doesn't have. Guess what? You're still stuck syncing everything in post-production, which can be a pain depending on your experience and editing software. Now let's talk about the benefits of the DMS1, including all of these great polar patterns on the back. I was very impressed with how well they all worked, and if you're just looking to integrate a sort of seamless microphone into your workflow, that's where this definitely gets the win. It saves you having to get another SD card or hook up the Zoom recorder to the computer and do all that kind of thing. Everything is stored on your media card within the camera, and for that, it's a really great choice. Again, the target audience for the DMS1 is vastly different and more niche to the audience looking for a wireless solution or professional shotgun microphone for the studio, but it fills the gap pretty nicely if you can live with the price. I would have loved to have seen this come with a lav mic connection so you can still utilize 32-bit float recordings via this, but it is what it is. Let me know in the comments what you think of this new LUMIX on-camera shotgun microphone. I'm very impressed with the size, connectivity, polar patterns, and audio quality, but it is quite a big chunk of change, at least here in Australia anyway. And if you're watching from overseas, odds are the price will vary quite a bit, as it always does with electronics, so I'll link down in the description where you can check it out in your part of the world. Thanks for your time, folks. Again, drop a thumbs up if you can and leave your thoughts below. I'll catch you on the next one. See ya.